and welcome back to Psychology Eats. So what's eating you? Today's topic is from a viewer who asked me how does she find a good therapist? And this is a question that I get from people occasionally when they are seeking a therapist. And so in order to find a good therapist, you need to be a good client, right? The therapist deserves a good client just like you deserve a good therapist. So I'm going to say, first I'm going to tell the client, speaking to the client, what is your responsibility when you're seeking a clinician or a therapist or a counselor? The first thing that a client or consumer, those words are interchangeable, I'll say client for the purpose of this video, the client must understand the therapeutic relationship. Therapeutic relationship with your therapist does not mean a friendship with your therapist. Your therapist relationship is a therapeutic relationship. It is not a friendship. And so, as the client, you need to understand that in the beginning, right? So your therapist is friendly, she should be, or he, engaging, but not your friend. A friend is someone that you have a two-way relationship with. Your friend, you tell your friend, your business. Your friend tells you their business. And it's a two-way relationship. You go to their house, they go to your house. That's a friendship. Your relationship with the therapist is only in the four corners of their office space. Your therapist shouldn't come to your family events, and you shouldn't be going to your therapist's family events. So understand that from the beginning. Your therapist is not your friend. Number 2, the service that you are getting, the counseling service that you are getting is exactly what it is. It's a service. And so you need to pay for it. So you need to know, is your insurance going to pay for this? Or am I going to pay out of pocket? Right? So you need to have those arrangements. Know in your head that this is a paid service and that you need to know exactly how much the therapist charges, what the fee is, if it's covered by insurance, if it's out of pocket. You get all of that straightened out before you even go into your first session with a new therapist. Number 3. Number 1 is understand the therapeutic relationship. Number 2, it's a service. Number 3, be prepared to do the work on yourself. Be ready first of all, be ready to respect the process of the relationship, right? That this is about you. It's not about the therapist and what the therapist said and what the therapist didn't say and did the therapist agree with me or not agree with me or whatever. It's not about the therapist. It's about you, right? So be prepared to do the work on you. Also, be prepared to be truthful. Come to the therapeutic relationship ready to tell the truth. Let me say that again. Come to the therapeutic relationship, client, prepared to tell the truth. Your truth. Remember, this is a confidential, safe environment. Your therapist is not telling anybody what you talked about. Even if you were sit there through probation or family services It is a therapeutic relationship. You should be free to speak your truth. If you can't tell the truth to your therapist, I don't know who you can tell it to. Right? The only way a therapist can repeat what you said is if you say you want to hurt yourself or someone else. And you have a plan to do what you said. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to take 5, bottles of pills when I get home. The therapist has a responsibility to report that and get you help. Same thing as if you told your therapist a whole plan you had to murder somebody. The therapist has a responsibility to report that for your safety and a possible victim. But other than that, everything you talk about in the therapeutic relationship is private between you and your therapist. Okay? And don't judge the therapist. Don't be so quick to judge the therapist. I've had clients, I've been in positions where clients have told me, I don't like such and such as my therapist. She too old, she too young, she too big, she too small. I don't like her, this and that. When you come in judging the therapist based on what you see, then you're probably going to miss out on getting some work done on yourself. So don't be so quick to judge the appearance of the therapist. Okay. And so now the therapist also has some responsibility. And this is all how you're trying to figure out if this therapist is right for you. The therapist should upfront talk about what their specialty is. You may be able to see it on their webpage or however they advertise their business. So they need to say, I'm specializing in anxiety, depression, sex addiction, alcohol addiction, whatever their specialty is, so that I know, a client may be looking for someone to help them with some sort of obsession that they have. So you want to seek out a therapist who specializes and is trained in helping someone with obsessions. Your therapist should be professional. You should have you build into this a relationship where you're easily engaged with them. They engage with you. You engage back with them. The therapist is on time. They say they're going to be in their office at 2 o'clock. You're there at 2 o'clock. They're there at 2 o'clock. They're professional. And the therapist should be and has to be appropriate within the session. And even outside the session. They need to have an appropriate relationship with their client. Right? So you go to see a therapist and your therapist asks you to go out on a date, then you know you got the wrong therapist. That therapist is out of pocket. They need to be reported to their supervisor, human services in your city, wherever. So your therapist needs to be appropriate. I have an example. I have several examples of inappropriate therapists, but this particular example, I always think about this. I worked with a colleague who went into therapy herself. She was just going through some things and she wanted to see a therapist. And so she was telling the therapist that there was a time in her life when she was smoking a lot of weed. And so the next session or so, the therapist asked her, the client, to cop her some weed. Like, get her some weed. And this my colleague. So yes, I'm sorry guys. So I had to edit this part. But anywho, so my colleague, of course, she ended that relationship with that therapist because she was so inappropriate. But I just want to give that warning that if you feel uncomfortable in the therapeutic office or in the therapeutic relationship that you're having, with your therapist, you just don't feel like, you feel like it's wrong or odd, don't go. Find yourself another therapist. And don't allow that experience to keep you out of therapy. So I'm going to end the video. Remind you to subscribe if you haven't to Psychology Eats, to share, like this video, send me an email, let me know if you have any psychological questions I could answer you, and be great. Have a great day.